The U.S. response to
Who are you with?
CNN.
No.
There's a split,
Fake
though,
news. Fortunately, nobody watches.
But my question
Is anybody watching CNN nowadays? I haven't seen it in a long time.
But some of your supporters are wary of the U.S. getting involved in another foreign wall, and some believe that we should support.
Do you ever ask a positive question at CNN? My supporters are more in love with me today, and I'm in love with them more than they were even at election time.
Israel stays in place, and that is part of the discussion, right?
Yes, absolutely part of the discussion. And, you know, I remember, Dan, at one point being in Tehran years ago, and they're chanting death to America all around me, even as I say, oh, I'm an American reporting for CNN, and they were happy to speak to me. So that those two is sort of jarring realities of the chant, and yet the friendliness have existed together. But I am hearing from some in Iran that I have not heard this from before, a sense of deep uncertainty about the future and of what happens next, and also of what the role is of the supreme leader. Now, we've heard that he's 86. We know his health has been ailing, but that in this moment, where everything that he has stood for and put Iran on the line for, which is giving up economic future, giving up so many bright stars who have left the country, all in the pursuit of a nuclear program designed to counter Israel, right? That all of that being put on the table has, for the first time from some, I have heard, what was all of this for? What was all of this for when the leaders, the religious leaders of this country have focused on things like women's hair and what they wore? So, you know, it's unclear how far things like that will go, how much of that is emotion in a moment that is exhausting and stressful and has meant a lot of failure for Iran, or how much of this is something bigger. But in the context of a regime change, the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, being in a bunker underneath Tehran, because he was at fear of his life when this deal was done, and perhaps being out of contact with the people who had to make the deal is something that, as we look back on this moment, may end up being a very significant reality that as the timeline plays out and we see where this goes, we look back and say, okay, that was something very important.
השגנו ניצחון היסטורי, והניצחון הזה יעמוד לדורות. הסרנו מעלינו שני איומים קיומיים מיידיים, איום ההשמדה בפצצות גרעין ואיום ההשמדה ב-20,000 טילים בליסטיים. אם לא היינו פועלים עכשיו, מדינת ישראל הייתה עומדת בקרוב בפני סכנת השמדה. אבל זה לא קרה. אם מישהו באיראן ינסה לשקם את הפרויקט הזה, נפעל באותה נחישות, באותה עוצמה, לגדוע כל ניסיון כזה. אני שב ואומר, לאיראן לא יהיה נשק גרעיני. באותה עוצמה, באותה נחישות, השמדנו את תעשיית ייצור הטילים של איראן. הרסנו עשרות מפעלים לייצור טילים, פגענו קשות במלאי הטילים, השמדנו את רוב המשגרים, במקרים רבים, השמדנו אותם דקות לפני שהם שיגרו את טילי המוות לישראל.
And if you could elaborate further on why you're arguing that this U.S. attack on Iran has destabilized the world to, as you say, nuclear countries, nuclear bomb-capable, countries, both the United States and Israel, attacking a non-nuclear country, Iran, what it says to other non-nuclear countries around the world, who gets attacked and who doesn't.
I think the vice president point is not one that needed to be made. I don't think the Iranians, under any circumstance, were under the illusion that the United States did not have the capability of bombing that facility. Whether the U.S. has the capability of truly destroying it or not remains to be seen, because we still have not gotten the final report of what type of damage was done here. I fear that the conclusion the Iranians will draw, which goes to your second point, is, and not just Iran, many other countries as well, is that you had here two nuclear-equipped countries attacking a non-nuclear state in the midst of negotiations, despite the fact that none of the nuclear-equipped countries had been attacked by non-nuclear state. Israel was not attacked by Iran. Israel initiated this conflict. The United States certainly was not attacked by Iran. It initiated this round of attacks. There is no basis for claiming this to be self-defense, even anticipatory self-defense. What this then says to a lot of other countries, not just in the region, but throughout the world, is that you are completely unsafe vis-a-vis nuclear powers. And if you want to have some sort of an ability to deter nuclear powers from attacking you, you may have to become a nuclear power yourself. So I think this was a major blow to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, similar to the manner in which many people in Washington argue that Russia's invasion, illegal invasion of Ukraine, was a blow to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, since Ukraine actually hosted nuclear weapons before the breakup of the Soviet Union. So if that is the case in the Russian-Ukrainian case, it certainly is the case also in the Israeli-US-Iranian case. So I think that even though in the short run, some limitations may have been put, the Iranian program may have been delayed, I fear that this is going to dramatically motivate the Iranians to build a nuclear deterrence, and it will do so as well for other countries in the region, particularly Turkey and Saudi Arabia, and then, of course, beyond the region as well.
President Trump conveyed to President Netanyahu that, Prime Minister Netanyahu, that was it, that this operation is done.
Well, I can tell you that even before it was done, Israel felt that it managed the goals of war. The biggest threat to Israel was a war of attrition, something that will go on. But we saw after 12 days the complete surrender of the Iranian regime. They couldn't deal anymore with the hits of Israel, and therefore they needed a ceasefire. This was an excellent opportunity to end the war, and it was led by President Trump, and the Israeli people thank him for his leadership. And this connects me to the famous motto of the Israeli top unit Matkal and SAS, who dares wins. And we see a winner that wants to really secure the world. And I think that this bold attack on the nuclear sites not only ended the nuclear program, but also created global deterrence, which will really stabilize things globally. Looking at China, looking at Russia, this will have a huge impact on the world. Today we live in a safer world.
What are your thoughts on these reports? We've been talking a lot in the past 24 hours about the 900 pounds of enriched uranium, which may have been hidden at another site in Iran. How troubling is that news to you? And where do you stand on the obliteration of these sites and how effective it is potentially in terms of stopping this threat?
So looking at what the Israeli intelligence says, and we have good intelligence, and also what the administration says, the nuclear program has been destroyed, including the enriched uranium. I hope indeed this is the case. This is the intelligence we have. But Israel is saying crystal clear, if the regime will try to renew its program, whether it's the nuclear program or production of ballistic missiles, Israel will retaliate. Israel will never, ever let the Iranians again build capabilities that will endanger Israel existentially. So we have a ceasefire, and frankly, we hope it will last forever. But it depends on the Iranian regime.